The gleaming diplomatic vessel of the Galactic Hegemony descended through Earth's atmosphere. It moved with an ominous grace that hid its occupants' true intentions. The massive ship cast a long shadow over the landing area as it settled onto the platform with barely a sound. Admiral Kim stood tall and straight on the landing platform. His weathered face showed none of the worry he felt inside. Behind him, a small group of Earth's highest-ranking officials waited in formal uniforms. They had prepared for this day for decades, but theory and reality were very different things. "Remember the plan," Admiral Kim said quietly to his team. "No matter what they say or do, we must appear confident but not threatening." The ship's outer hull shifted and rearranged itself, forming an elegant doorway where moments before there had been only smooth metal. A soft hiss escaped as atmospheric pressures equalized, and a ramp extended to touch the ground. Empress Nari of the Xilarian Empire emerged first. Her crystalline exoskeleton caught the sunlight and broke it into thousands of dazzling patterns. She stood nearly 8 feet tall, towering over the human delegation. Her 6 amber eyes narrowed as she surveyed the humans waiting below. 4 armed guards followed her, their hands resting on weapons unlike anything humanity had ever officially encountered. Admiral Kim stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Empress Nari, Earth welcomes you. I am Admiral Kim, representing the United Earth government." The Empress studied him for a long moment, her head tilted in a way that suggested curiosity, though her alien features were difficult for humans to read. "We expected primitives," she said through her translator device. Her actual speech consisted of clicks and whistles no human could pronounce. "Yet you have achieved spaceflight. Curious, but ultimately irrelevant. The hegemony requires your world's resources and immediate submission." Several members of the Earth delegation tensed, but Admiral Kim had expected this. He smiled politely. "We appreciate your directness, Empress. However, Earth must respectfully decline your offer of protection." The Empress's upper limbs twitched in what might have been surprise. Her entourage exchanged glances. Clearly, this was not the response they had anticipated. Protection. Empress Nari's mandibles clicked rapidly in what the humans recognized as laughter. "You misunderstand. This is not an offer. The Xilarian Empire does not make offers." Admiral Kim maintained his pleasant expression. "Neither does humanity," he replied, his smile never wavering. "We've been monitoring your communications for decades. We know exactly what submission means to your empire." The temperature seemed to drop several degrees. The Empress's posture stiffened, and her guards moved their hands closer to their weapons. "You claim to have monitored our communications?" she asked, her translator unable to fully capture the dangerous edge in her voice. "Impossible. Your technology is primitive." "Is it?" Admiral Kim asked simply. "We know of the Rigelian subjugation. We know about the mining colonies on Proxima Centauri. We know that the hegemony is not as united as you pretend. The Andromeda Alliance grows stronger each day, does it not?" The Empress's amber eyes widened slightly. These were facts that no isolated primitive world should know. "You play a dangerous game, Admiral," she said, her voice now cold. "If what you say is true, then you know the might of our empire. Thousands of worlds bow to us. Your single planet cannot hope to resist." "We don't wish for conflict, Empress," Admiral Kim said. "We simply wish to maintain our independence. Surely the galaxy is big enough for all of us." The Empress stepped closer, towering over Admiral Kim. "Then you know resistance is futile. We will return, and you will regret this decision." As the Empress turned to leave, one of her guards whispered something to her. She stopped and looked back at the humans. "1 standard galactic month," she declared. "You have this time to reconsider. Prepare your surrender documents. When we return, we will accept nothing less than complete submission." The Earth delegation watched as the alien visitors re-entered their ship. The beautiful vessel hummed with energy, then rose silently into the sky, accelerating until it was just a point of light among the stars. Only when the ship was completely gone did Admiral Kim allow his shoulders to relax slightly. He looked at the anxious faces around him. "Well, that went exactly as expected," he said with a grim smile. General Yoon approached him. "Do you think they suspect anything?" Admiral Kim shook his head. "No. They believe exactly what we wanted them to believe, that we're just advanced enough to be interesting, but not advanced enough to be a threat." "And the communications monitoring?" asked Defense Minister Bai. "The information we revealed was carefully chosen," Admiral Kim explained. "Just enough to surprise them, but nothing that would reveal our true capabilities." As the delegation walked back toward the government complex, Admiral Kim activated his secure comm unit embedded in his wrist. The device was far more advanced than anything the Xilarians believed humans possessed. "She took the bait," he said quietly. "Initiate Protocol Thundershield." From deep space to underground bunkers across Earth, thousands of systems acknowledged the command. Hidden factories increased production. Secret military bases came fully online, and in the darkness of the asteroid belt, massive structures began to awaken from their dormant state. Far above Earth, surveillance satellites tracked the Xilarian vessel as it joined a larger fleet hiding behind Jupiter's moon Callisto. The aliens thought themselves undetected, but every movement was being recorded and analyzed. In a secure underground facility, President Jin received Admiral Kim's report with a solemn nod. 200 years of preparation," she said quietly. "Let's hope it's enough." Admiral Kim looked at the massive holographic display, showing the positions of Earth's hidden defenses, technology that had been developed in absolute secrecy. "They expect primitives," he said. "They'll find warriors instead." The countdown had begun. 1 month until the Xilarians returned. 1 month to prepare humanity's surprise for an empire that had never known defeat. Deep within the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, hidden shipyards hummed with activity. To outside observers, these appeared to be ordinary mining operations. Cargo ships came and went regularly, supposedly carrying refined metals and minerals. But this was just a clever disguise. These facilities were actually the final assembly points for humanity's greatest military achievement. Asteroid BX-724 looked unremarkable from the outside. Its cratered surface was identical to thousands of others in the belt. However, its interior had been completely hollowed out over decades of secret work. Inside this massive space floated Shipyard Omega, the largest of humanity's hidden military facilities. General Lee pushed herself through the zero-gravity environment with practiced ease, her magnetic boots occasionally touching guide rails to adjust her direction. She floated through the cavernous interior of Shipyard Omega, her eyes wide with pride, as she watched thousands of workers applying the final touches to the massive supercarrier Defiance. The ship was enormous, stretching nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern. Its hull was midnight black, designed to absorb rather than reflect light and sensor scans. Hundreds of weapons ports lined its surface, currently closed but ready to deploy devastating firepower when needed. "It's magnificent," General Lee said quietly. Beside her, Director Park nodded in agreement. He held a tablet displaying dozens of readouts from the ship's systems. "The final armor plating is being attached now. Weapons systems are at 98% functionality. Life support is fully operational." They passed a massive window that looked out into the main construction bay. Below them, swarms of workers in spacesuits moved around the supercarrier like bees around a hive. Some operated huge robotic arms that helped position the last hull plates. Others clustered around open panels, installing and testing critical systems. "How many are combat ready?" General Lee asked, watching as a team of engineers tested a section of the ship's energy cannons. Director Park swiped through several holographic schematics that floated above his tablet. 173 carriers are fully operational, with the remaining 27 in final testing phases, he replied. "We're ahead of schedule." General Lee raised her eyebrows, impressed. "And the special systems? The quantum shield generators are exceeding expectations in all tests. They're showing 42% better energy efficiency than our original designs. Director Park pulled up another diagram showing complex energy patterns. The gravitational weapon systems have been successfully calibrated on all operational vessels. Firing tests in the outer belt showed they can slice through 10 meters of solid rock without diminishing power. They continued floating through a long corridor that connected to a central command hub. Through windows on either side, they could see similar construction bays, each housing another massive supercarrier in various stages of completion. Have we managed to keep this hidden from the Xelarians? General Lee asked, gesturing toward a nearby ship. Director Park nodded confidently. The asteroid belt provides perfect cover. The natural radiation and mineral deposits mask our activities. Plus, our stealth systems are generations beyond what the hegemony can detect. They entered the command hub, where dozens of officers monitored huge screens displaying the status of operations throughout the asteroid belt. One large screen showed the current position of the Xelarian diplomatic vessel as it left Earth's solar system. What about the Empress's spies? General Lee asked quietly, watching the alien ship's trajectory. Director Park tapped his tablet, bringing up security reports. We've identified and fed them exactly what we wanted them to see. According to our counterintelligence team, they believe our defense consists of a few orbital platforms and outdated fusion missiles. A slight smile crossed General Lee's normally serious face. So they think we're practically defenseless. Completely, Director Park confirmed. Their intelligence suggests we have perhaps 20 orbital defense platforms and a handful of short-range fighters. Nothing that could possibly threaten their fleet. General Lee checked her watch. The Empress gave us 1 month. Where will we be by then? Every carrier will be combat ready. Director Park assured her. The full fleet of 200 supercarriers, plus supporting vessels. We've even managed to increase fighter production. Each carrier will deploy with its full complement of attack craft. They reached a viewing platform that offered a dramatic perspective of the Defiance. From here, they could see the massive hangar doors slowly opening to reveal the sleek, midnight black hull in all its glory. Work lights reflected off its surface, highlighting the advanced design that no other species in the known galaxy could match. 2 centuries of preparation, General Lee said quietly, watching as the ship's engines began a low-power test sequence, glowing with blue energy. Let's hope it's enough. It will be, Director Park said with confidence. Humanity has been planning for this moment since we detected the first alien transmission. Every generation adding their knowledge, their improvements. He gestured to the ship. The Xelarians think they're dealing with primitives who just reached space. They have no idea what's waiting for them. General Lee's communicator beeped. She checked the message and her expression grew more serious. Intelligence reports the Empress has gathered a significant battle fleet near the Arcturus system. It seems she's taking our resistance personally. Good, Director Park said. The more resources she commits, the more decisive our victory will be. General Lee nodded slowly. Send word to all shipyards. I want round-the-clock operations until every carrier is ready. No delays, no excuses. As they looked out at the Defiance, its massive engines now glowing brighter during the test, neither spoke for a long moment. The enormity of what they were preparing for, humanity's first interstellar conflict, weighed heavily on them both. She thinks we're primitives, General Lee finally said. She thinks we're weak. Director Park smiled thinly. That's always been our advantage. While they conquered obvious threats, we built in secret. While they fought wars of domination, we prepared for one battle, this battle. The Defiance completed its engine test, the blue glow fading slowly. In the temporary darkness, General Lee's determined expression was barely visible. The countdown has begun, she said. In 1 month, the Empress learns exactly what humanity is capable of. 30 days passed quickly. The people of Earth went about their daily lives, but there was tension in the air. Everyone knew the aliens would return. News channels showed the same video clips over and over. The gleaming alien ship, the tall crystalline figure of Empress Nari, the warning she had given. On the 30th morning, the skies darkened over every major city on Earth. It wasn't clouds or storms, it was ships. Hundreds of massive alien vessels took position in Earth's atmosphere. They blocked the sun in many places, casting enormous shadows over the land below. The flagship of the Xelarian fleet was the largest vessel humans had ever seen. It was twice the size of the Shanghai Tower, Earth's tallest building. This enormous ship positioned itself over the North Pacific Ocean, its weapon systems clearly visible and powered up. In the emergency United Earth Council chamber deep beneath Geneva, President Song sat at the head of a large round table. Leaders from every nation were either physically present or connected via secure holographic links. Their faces showed fear, determination, and grim resolve. "They're earlier than we expected," said Defense Minister Bai, checking the latest reports. "The main fleet arrived through the jump point near Neptune just 30 minutes ago. They must have been preparing for this for some time." President Song nodded calmly. "As were we." She turned to her communications officer. "Accept the transmission from the Empress." The center of the table shimmered, and a life-sized holographic projection of Empress Neri appeared. Her crystalline form seemed even more imposing than before, her 6 amber eyes glowing with triumph. "Your time has expired," Empress Neri declared without any greeting. Her translator conveyed her clicks and whistles into cold, precise words. "Surrender now, and we will allow your species to continue existing as servants. Resist, and we will reduce your civilization to ash." Several council members shifted nervously in their seats, but President Song maintained a carefully neutral expression. She had been chosen for this role partly because of her exceptional poker face. "Empress Nari, we appreciate your return as promised," President Song said politely. "We request additional time to consider your generous terms. Our world government system requires consulting with many leaders, and 30 days was insufficient to reach consensus." The Empress's mandibles clicked rapidly in obvious irritation. "You've had sufficient time," she hissed through the translator. "My patience." "Ma'am," interrupted Captain Han's voice through President Song's earpiece. "The timing was perfect, exactly as they had planned. Operation Thundershield is complete. All carriers are in position." President Song straightened in her chair. A slight smile appeared on her face for the first time. "Actually, Empress, we've made our decision." Her tone changed from submissive to confident. "Perhaps you should look beyond your flagship's immediate vicinity." The hologram of the Empress flickered as she turned away, apparently receiving reports from her crew. The council members watched as her alien features transformed from smugness to confusion to utter disbelief. On screens around the council chamber, Earth's leaders could see what was happening. Emerging from stealth deployment around Earth, the asteroid belt, and key points throughout the solar system were 200 massive supercarriers. Each ship was easily as large as the Xelarian vessels, their midnight black hulls absorbing light in strange ways that made them difficult to focus on even when visible. The human ships appeared as if from nowhere, their advanced cloaking technology dropping to reveal vessels bristling with weapons, unlike anything the hegemony had ever encountered. They had been hiding in plain sight, positioned perfectly to surround the Xelarian fleet. "Impossible," whispered the Empress, her translator struggling to convey her shock. "Our intelligence was exactly what we wanted you to believe," President Song replied, now standing to address the Empress as an equal, not a supplicant. "Humanity has never been defenseless, Empress, not for the past 200 years. The Empress's guards moved into view of the hologram, their weapons ready. They spoke rapidly to her in their clicking language, clearly alarmed. "You concealed this fleet from our sensors," the Empress said. "It wasn't a question. How? Our technology is superior to any in the known galaxy." President Song allowed herself a small shrug. "Is it? Perhaps you should reconsider that assumption, along with your assessment of humanity as primitives." On the tactical displays, the human supercarriers continued to move into position, executing a perfect encirclement of the Xelarian fleet. Each carrier opened hangar bays, releasing swarms of smaller fighter craft that took up defensive formations. "You tricked us," the Empress hissed, her composure cracking for the first time. "We protected ourselves," President Song corrected. "There's a difference." One of the Empress's advisors whispered something to her. Her eyes narrowed as she considered this information. "Your ships are impressive, but untested," the Empress said, regaining some confidence. "Our fleet has conquered 1,000 worlds. Do you truly believe you can stand against the might of the hegemony?" President Song looked around at the Earth leaders, who all nodded in silent agreement. She turned back to face the hologram. "We don't wish to find out, Empress. We would prefer peace, but make no mistake, humanity will not bow. We will not serve. If you force this conflict, we are prepared." "Empress Neri," President Song continued, her voice firm but not threatening, "we propose an alternative to conflict. Diplomatic recognition of Earth's independence and sovereignty. Trade agreements that benefit both our peoples. Cultural exchange that enriches us all. Is that not preferable to unnecessary bloodshed?" The Empress stood silent for a long moment, her alien features unreadable to human eyes. When she finally spoke, her voice carried a dangerous edge. "No species has ever dared to challenge the Xelarian Empire this way," she said. "Your deception will not be forgotten." "Nor will your threats against our world," replied President Song. "The question is what happens next. Will it be war or diplomacy? The choice is yours, Empress." The hologram flickered as the Empress turned completely away, conferring with her commanders. The council chamber was silent, everyone holding their breath. This was the moment 2 centuries of preparation had led to, humanity revealing its true strength and hoping it would be enough. When the Empress turned back, her posture had changed. She seemed somehow larger, more menacing. "Humanity has made its choice," she said, her voice cold through the translator. "Now witness the consequences." The hologram disappeared. On the tactical displays, the Xelarian fleet began to move. Empress Neri's shock quickly transformed into rage. Her crystalline body glowed with an angry red light that made her guards step back. She had never faced such defiance in her 300-year reign. "Destroy them all," she commanded her fleet, her voice echoing through the communication systems of 500 warships. Several of her advisors tried to caution her, warning about the unknown capabilities of the human vessels, but she silenced them with a violent gesture. "I will not be humiliated by primitives," she hissed. "Fire all weapons. Full power." The Xelarian fleet responded immediately to their Empress's command. Thousands of energy weapons charged and fired simultaneously, illuminating the space around Earth like artificial suns. The brilliant beams of destructive energy streaked toward the human carriers from all directions. But something unexpected happened. As the energy weapons hit the human vessels, they simply disappeared, absorbed into shimmering fields that surrounded each carrier. Not a single shot penetrated the quantum shields of the human ships. There was no damage, not even a flicker in their defensive systems. Aboard the human flagship, Resilience, Commander Choi sat calmly in her command chair. The bridge was quiet and orderly, despite the thousands of enemy weapons firing upon them. Status displays showed all systems functioning perfectly. Shields holding at 99.7% efficiency, reported Officer Sun from the defense station. Minor power fluctuations in sectors 3 and 7, but well within acceptable parameters. Commander Choi nodded, her expression serious but confident. "All carriers, implement battle pattern Delta," she ordered, her voice carrying to the commanders of all 200 supercarriers. "Fighter squadrons, neural link engage." From each supercarrier emerged swarms of smaller craft. Unlike traditional fighters, these vessels were directly connected to their pilots through advanced neural interfaces. Each pilot felt their ship as an extension of their own body, and more importantly, They were connected to each other, sharing thoughts and sensations at the speed of light. The fighters moved with impossible coordination, forming complex patterns that no traditional formation could match. They darted between enemy ships with precision that seemed magical to the watching Solarians. "What is this?" demanded Empress Nari as she watched the tactical displays. "How are they moving like that? No species has this technology." Her tactical officer's voice trembled. "Unknown, Empress. Their fighters appear to be moving as a single organism. Our targeting systems cannot predict their movements." The human fighters closed in on the Solarian fleet. Instead of conventional weapons, they activated their gravitational weapons, technology that warped spacetime itself. The weapons didn't fire energy or projectiles. Instead, they created localized distortions that sheared alien vessels apart without direct contact. A Solarian cruiser folded in on itself as the space around it twisted unnaturally. Another simply split in half as though cut by an invisible knife. A third imploded, its hull unable to withstand the gravitational forces being applied to it. "Continue the attack," Commander Choi ordered calmly. "Target weapons and engines where possible. Minimize casualties." The neural-linked fighters moved as one, disabling Solarian ships with surgical precision. Meanwhile, the human supercarriers began to advance, their massive forms moving with surprising grace. They targeted the largest Solarian vessels, using precisely controlled gravitational weapons to disable rather than destroy. In the Solarian flagship, chaos reigned. Systems failed as gravitational distortions disrupted their power cores. Alarms blared from every console. "We've lost 30% of the fleet," reported the tactical officer, his voice shaking. "Another 40% report critical damage. Our weapons have no effect on their shields." Empress Neri stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Her mighty armada, the pride of the Solarian Empire, was being systematically taken apart without landing a single effective hit on the enemy. "This is impossible," she whispered. "No species could advance this quickly without us knowing." Aboard the Resilience, Officer Kang called out from the tactical station. "The Empress's flagship is attempting to retreat, Commander. They're trying to reach the jump point near Jupiter." Commander Choi nodded. "Carriers 7 through 12, move to intercept. Surround, but do not destroy. Show restraint." She emphasized the last words. "Remember our mission. We want peace, not vengeance." 5 human supercarriers broke formation and moved with astonishing speed to cut off the Empress's escape route. Their midnight black hulls seemed to bend light around them as they accelerated, reaching the jump point before the Solarian flagship could arrive. Within 3 hours, the battle, if it could even be called that, was over. The mighty hegemony fleet lay in ruins. Nearly a third of their vessels had been destroyed when they refused to surrender. Another third were disabled, floating helplessly in space with their weapons and engines offline. The remainder, including the Empress's flagship, were surrounded by humanity's armada, which showed barely a scratch from the conflict. On the bridge of the Resilience, Commander Choi surveyed the tactical display with solemn eyes. There had been casualties, primarily Solarians who had continued fighting even when defeat was certain. She had hoped to avoid any deaths today. "Open a channel to the Empress," Commander Choi ordered. "Visual communication." The main screen on the bridge flickered, then showed the interior of the Solarian flagship. The bridge was damaged, with smoke visible in the background. Emergency lights cast a red glow over everything. In the center stood Empress Neri, her crystalline form dulled with stress and fear, though she tried to maintain her dignity. "Empress Neri," Commander Choi said, her voice firm but not unkind. "This conflict is over. You cannot expect the Solarian Empire to surrender to primitives," the Empress replied, though her voice lacked its former confidence. "We don't expect surrender," Commander Choi said simply. "We expect recognition. Recognition of our right to exist freely. Recognition that Earth is not yours to take." She gestured to the tactical display visible on her own bridge. We could destroy your remaining ships. Our weapons are still at full power. Our shields are undamaged. We choose not to. Remember that, Empress." The Empress was silent for a long moment, her alien features difficult for humans to read. Finally, she spoke, her voice quieter than before. "What are your terms?" Commander Choi allowed herself a small smile. "Simple ones. You will withdraw from Earth's solar system. You will acknowledge Earth's independence and sovereignty. You will not return with hostile intent." "And if I refuse?" the Empress asked, though it was clear she had few options. "Then we will be forced to escort you and your surviving ships back to Solarian space ourselves," Commander Choi replied. "Our carriers are quite capable of making the journey." The threat was clear. The humans could reach the Solarian homeworld if necessary, something that should have been impossible for a species that had supposedly just achieved spaceflight. Around the Empress, her advisors whispered urgently. She silenced them with a gesture, then faced the human commander again. "You have won this battle," she said finally. "But the hegemony spans 1,000 worlds. This is not over." Commander Choi's expression remained calm. "For today, it is. Will you withdraw peacefully, Empress?" After a long pause, the Empress nodded once, sharply. "We will withdraw. But the Solarian Empire does not forget, Commander. Remember that." As the communication ended, Commander Choi turned to her bridge crew. "Maintain battle stations until they've left the system. Record everything." Officer Sun approached her quietly. "Do you think they'll honor the agreement?" Commander Choi watched as the damaged Solarian ships began to limp away from Earth. "Today, they have no choice," she said. "Tomorrow, that's why we built 200 carriers instead of 20. 6 months passed since the Battle of Seoul changed everything. The news of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. The story grew with each telling, how a supposedly primitive species had defeated the mighty Solarian Empire, how 200 human supercarriers had appeared from nowhere, how not a single human ship had been destroyed in the battle. On a planet far from Earth, in the central system of the galactic hegemony, Admiral Joe led the Earth delegation toward the Great Hall. The building was enormous, with soaring crystal spires that reached into the purple sky. It had been built to impress and intimidate visitors, and for 1,000 years it had succeeded. Admiral Joe walked calmly, his blue diplomatic uniform standing out among his team. Behind them, a small security detail kept watch. Though they were officially guests, no one fully trusted the hegemony yet. "Remember," Admiral Joe said quietly to his team, "we represent all humanity today. Stay calm, no matter what happens." The massive doors of the Great Hall swung open. Inside, representatives from 1,000 worlds sat in rising tiers around a central speaking floor. The chamber fell silent as the humans entered. Every eye, tentacle, and sensory organ focused on the newcomers. At the far end, elevated above all others on a crystal throne, sat Empress Neri. Her once brilliant exoskeleton seemed duller now, dimmed by her defeat 6 months earlier. Yet she remained dangerous, like a wounded predator. Her 6 amber eyes tracked Admiral Joe's every move. The human delegation walked to the center of the floor. Protocol dictated they should bow to the Empress, but Admiral Joe simply nodded respectfully instead. This small act of defiance caused murmurs throughout the hall. "The delegation from Earth is recognized," announced the hegemony speaker, a tall, thin alien with translucent skin through which complex organs could be seen pulsing. Admiral Joe stepped forward. "The people of Earth thank the galactic hegemony for this opportunity to address the Council," he said, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. 6 months ago, our first official contact with the wider galaxy came in the form of threats and attempted conquest. Today, we come seeking something different." He paused, looking around the chamber. Among the representatives, he noticed many watching him with what seemed like hope in their alien eyes. These were the delegates from worlds that had been conquered by the Solarians, who lived under the Empress's harsh rule. "The terms are simple," Admiral Joe stated clearly, Earth claims no territories beyond our solar system. We demand no reparations for the unprovoked attack on our world. We require only recognition of our sovereignty and independence, and the same for any world that wishes to follow our example. Murmurs rippled through the assembly as dozens of species representatives realized the implications. The humans were offering protection, not conquest. After centuries of Silurian domination, the idea that a powerful species would use its strength to protect rather than subjugate was revolutionary. The Empress leaned forward on her throne. "You presume much, human," she said, her translator conveying her clicking speech. "One victory does not give you the right to dictate terms to the hegemony." Admiral Joe turned to face her directly. "We do not dictate, Empress. We propose. There is a difference, one that perhaps explains why we are having this conversation at all." This caused more murmurs, and even a few sounds that might have been alien laughter. The Empress's exoskeleton flushed with angry colors. "The human proposal will be considered," the speaker declared, trying to maintain order. "The council will deliberate and—" "There is nothing to deliberate," interrupted a representative from the Proxima system, rising from his seat. "The humans defended themselves against unprovoked aggression. They showed mercy when they could have destroyed the Imperial fleet. I move that we recognize Earth immediately." "Seconded," called another representative, this one a floating cloud of gas contained within a transparent field. "And I further move that we establish formal trade relations with Earth." The chamber erupted in voices, some supporting the humans, others arguing for caution. The speaker tried unsuccessfully to restore order. Through it all, Empress Neri sat rigidly on her throne, her anger visible in the pulsing colors of her exoskeleton. When the noise finally subsided, Admiral Joe spoke again. "We understand that change is difficult. Earth is prepared to wait while the Council reaches its decision. However, I have been authorized to state that any world seeking independence will find Earth willing to assist in peaceful transition." This statement caused another uproar. After 1,000 years of rule, the Silurian Empire was facing its first serious challenge, and it came not from conquest, but from the simple offer of freedom. As the Council continued to debate, Admiral Joe approached the Empress's throne. Protocol officers tried to stop him, but the Empress waved them away. She wanted to hear what this human would say. "You humiliate me before the galaxy," Empress Neri hissed quietly when Admiral Joe stood before her, his voice too low for others to hear. Admiral Joe shook his head slightly. "No, Empress. You did that yourself when you threatened a species you didn't understand," he replied. "We could have destroyed your empire. Instead, we offer peace." The Empress's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Peace on your terms." "Peace on fair terms," Admiral Joe corrected. "Your empire can continue, Empress, but it must be an empire of willing participants, not subjugated slaves." 3 days later, after heated debates and private negotiations, the Galactic Hegemony formally recognized Earth's independence and sovereignty. More surprisingly, they established a new charter allowing any world to petition for similar status. As Earth joined the galactic community, the 200 supercarriers became symbols throughout known space, not of human aggression, but of the determination of a species that had prepared for centuries to defend its freedom, and now to extend that freedom to others. In her private chambers, Empress Neri stared at the holographic image of Earth's fleet. The display showed each carrier in perfect detail, their capabilities now known to all. Her advisors had left hours ago, unable to provide any solutions to the crisis facing the Empire. "This is not over," she whispered to herself, her claw touching the hologram of the human flagship. "The galaxy will remember who ruled before the humans arrived." But for now, at least a new balance of power had emerged, one where freedom suddenly seemed possible for countless beings who had known only subjugation. Throughout the hegemony, species that had been conquered centuries ago began to whisper about independence, about choice, about a future where they determined their own path. And orbiting Earth, the 200 supercarriers remained vigilant, ready to defend not just humanity, but the very idea of freedom itself. The end.